going to go ahead and get started because I want to be respectful of people's time, and I appreciate you all coming. I'm sure some other people may join in later. However, be it may, here we are today. So I am Margaret Williams, the publisher of the Empowered Leader publication, okay, where I help marginalized leaders, okay, increase their visibility and their influence, okay, and help you to utilize your skills, okay, to increase your productivity and your desired outcomes, okay? That's why Bob and I are both here today to talk to you about the imposter syndrome, okay? So, Bob Lewis here, he is the publisher of the Better Decisions, Better Lives, okay? And he is a retired attorney and mediator whose work now focuses on personal development, decision making, and navigating life's challenges. Okay? His perspective is deeply shaped by a career in high stakes litigation. Okay? And a personal journey of overcoming significant adversities. Okay? Bob's career has spanned over 20 years as a trial attorney, particularly in civil litigation. Okay? So, I'm going to, well, you also have another publication, the Legal Insights newsletter, where you break down complex legal principles for everyday application. Now, you know that in itself is very key in today's world, okay?
Yes.
So you, being a subject matter expert, can definitely bring in your expertise on all of the things, polarizing things that we are dealing with in today's society. But today we're here to talk to you specifically about imposter syndrome. So thank you very much, Bob, for joining us this morning. And please tell us more about how you came to Substack.
Well, I kind of blundered into Substack. It's actually kind of funny, but I just kept hearing about it. I'm a retired and also disabled attorney and certified mediator, and you got to have a purpose in life. And I found Substack, and I thought I'd try social media writing, just at least for something to do, not necessarily a way to make money or anything like that, but something to do. And I found Substack, and I really liked it. And there's one major problem. I was regarded as a very good writer of legal stuff. In fact, many people considered me the best writing attorney in my city of Rapid City, South Dakota. Some judges actually told me that. And what's funny is I thought, well, then writing on social media ought to be a cinch. With all my experience and everything like that, I can just jump in and people will flock to me when I write stuff. Wrong. I mean, they don't want to read legal briefs on social media, be it Substack or Medium or Twitter or anything. They don't want to read legal briefs for some reason.
You know what? I can identify because I worked for the federal government for 39 years, and during that time I worked in construction and doing government contracting. Now that is black and white, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talk about gray areas, there are no gray areas. It's either yes or no, okay? We the government cringe when you're talking about black and gray areas. Oh no. Because that's, you have to deal with emotions and stuff like that. We deal with facts in the government. So I was told, but there's always the backdoor deals that you're not welcome in those meetings. Okay. Nevertheless, let's get back to the imposter syndrome. Okay.
Well, the thing is about the writing we were just talking about, the type of writing you were just discussing for the government and in legal stuff, you take the emotion out of it. And that's where the big change is, writing for social media. you got to personalize it and bring emotion into it. And
Oh,
people remember you more for how they feel than what they read, the information you provided in your writing. In other words, if you can relate it well in social media with a story about yourself or something like that, they can relate it to their own personal deal and how they felt. So they'll remember it better. They'll remember
you
it
know,
better.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's why when I first came to Substack, people didn't know what the hell I was saying, because my thinking was from government contracting side, right? We're gonna talk
Yeah.
about what's fair and reasonable, and we're gonna talk about cost reasonableness, okay? And they're like, what the hell is she talking about? So until you until you're able to bring that emotions, okay, and that personalness, what you bring and your experience, and you can talk about that, then you're just talking gibberish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you can write it correctly, and this is where I'm having difficulty, is relating my stories, because quite honestly, most of my stories are pretty unique or unusual.
Okay.
And But anyway, if I can tell a number of them, and when they're in that situation, they can excuse me, something's happening here, but then when they're in a similar situation, they can think, oh yeah, Bob Lewis talked about that, and this is what he, and they remember it, and they feel it, and if you can give them the
That
feeling
is
and the
the
emotion.
that is the key. For me, I am a visual person. So I have to visualize it first. Okay? Then from the visualization, then I can write about it. Then after that, you can go back and then you can add the emotion. You don't have to do everything at one time, Bob. Do one
Right.
thing at a time and then go back,
Yeah.
and then you can add and subtract as needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that
But
make sense?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. But getting to imposter syndrome, I had it severely in the 1980s and 1990s as a successful trial attorney. But in addition to being a trial attorney, I represented a lot of medical people, especially psychiatrists and psychologists, accused of misconduct with their patients, usually of the sexual nature. And
Oh
so
my God.
I got to know a lot of medical people there, and I became general counsel for hospital, several medical centers, and so on. So I I was around high achievers all the time, in both as being an attorney and who I represented as general counsel with the doctors and everything. And the imposter syndrome is something that the studies have shown that approximately 70% of high achievers suffer imposter syndrome at least for a little while during their life. So imposter syndrome is a big deal. And
That's
imposter
the
syndrome affects your whole life.
No, that's the reason why I was talking to you about the writing, because it shows up in
Mhm.
your writing. If I suffer with it too, so I'm just explaining to you, it shows up in your writing process, and how to overcome it is by breaking it down in smaller pieces.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
you're right. You're right.
so that's why I brought it back up again, because I want us to not run from it but face it.
Right. And that's the first thing you
Okay.
have to do. That's when, if you have imposter syndrome, the first thing you have to do is recognize you have it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then you can take the steps to resolve the situation. But let's define. Go ahead.
Okay. It not only shows up in your writing, it shows up in the way you communicate with the world in general.
Hmm.
It shows up in your relationships. It shows up in everything, in every facet of our lives.
Yes. Yes. Well, imposter syndrome, for to kind of define it, um, it's it's a tendency to believe that your good fortune and your all of your achievements are the result of luck rather than your ability, and therefore you think that you're a fraud, and people will find out that you're a fraud. And it makes you afraid to do things. You still do them. Hopefully you still do them, but you think that, oh, I just got lucky, and so on. I can take it a little deeper than that, but let me just say, when you have imposter syndrome, what you were just saying is correct. And when you have imposter syndrome, it affects your whole life, not just your business. It affects your relationships. It affects everything. I've got a line here that I like here that let's see, what is it here? I know I wrote it down here somewhere, but anyway, it's that you tend to act in all aspects of your life as you see yourself. Whether that attitude is correct or not, that's how you act. So if you're scared going into something, you'll act scared, and it'll come through. As a trial attorney, you didn't want to act scared, even though you were
Okay,
terrified.
true. Now, all this stems from back to childhood. When you were born in the world, okay, you don't know a lot of these things. Okay, you pick up cues when you're a child, and how you're treated. Like, for example, I was abandoned by my mother. So that
Oh,
affects me as a child, not having the love from my mother. Most children are held by their mother. They say they're loved. I love you, this and that and the other. And others, they say, oh, you are a bother and I don't want you around. So all of these things, like inner critic and imposter syndrome, starts there, and it
yes.
continues through life. Unless we only way we can break it is a lot of times through having positive role models in your life. Okay, if you have maybe you have to go to therapy. Okay,
Mhm.
so these things start there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, you're exactly right. And um, yeah, imposter syndrome really usually begins early in your life, like you said. Is
Yeah.
maybe high expectations of your folks, unreasonably high expectations of your
Yeah.
folks, or no folks at all. So who do you compare yourself to? But
Right.
you look at the people that are successful, and you say, "Oh man, I can't do that," or something, or I have to work harder to get there. You over prepare.
All
Yep,
those things. Okay.
yep,
It's
exactly.
a bus about it. If I wanted to make it
Hmm.
out the hood, I had to work 3, 10 times harder than anybody else. Okay,
Hmm.
wasn't nobody gonna come to save me. Wasn't no free lunch.
Yep.
Not for people that look like me.
Hmm.
Okay?
That it was funny when I had imposter syndrome as a trial attorney, and a lot of trial attorneys do. A lot of writers do too.
That's what I was trying to tell you from the beginning. Yes,
Yep. Yep.
exactly. How I never thought that I was good enough to write an article. Okay, it took
Hmm.
me to meet Veronica for her to tell me,
Oh.
Margaret, you can write this article. It took her
Hmm.
to tell me that. Okay, because I didn't think I
Yep.
was good enough. I didn't think I was good enough. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And
that's why I went back to the writing. So everything matters.
yes, yes. The thing about me with writing and imposter syndrome is that I always was afraid that if I say something stupid, I'm going to have a reputation of being stupid. So
Based on
every.
who? Right? That's what we told as a child to shut up. My parents have taught me, you don't be in the same room as adults. You stay in a child's place.
Mhm,
You go to your room. Okay? And it was just
mhm,
me. So I understand that, because there's certain things as a child you don't need to hear and you don't need to know about. You need to stay a child as long as you can. Heaven knows, this with this world being so chaotic, that some of the things that you hear from your parents is enough to traumatize you on its own.
mhm.
So it's best to certain things that you don't hear. Okay? So
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, like in my childhood, when I grew up, I had one brother and one sister. My brother became one of the best wrestlers in the world, amateur wrestlers in the world. He was on the 1980 Olympic wrestling team that didn't go to Russia, and he was on the 1984 Olympic team that went to Los Angeles, and he won a gold medal in wrestling. So I got to compare. My parents compared me to that.
You know,
My little sister, on the other hand, she was a 3-time all-state, all-around gymnastics champion in South Dakota. Look at I'm compared with that.
that's one of the things. That's one of the things I'm talking about last week. I don't know. Parents might do this unconsciously. Sometimes they're trying to
Yes,
get the kids to like to being competitive than to compete against each other, but it has negative connotations in it.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you always feel like you're never good enough because you always got to compete with this person, that person, and you got to always
Mhm.
continue to try to outdo this person, outdo that person. But you're creating a much bigger problem like we see in the world today. Instead of us working together, okay, we're all competing against each other. And what are we accomplishing by doing that?
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. Well, see, in my family, my dad um, was in a unique situation. His father was murdered when my dad was 2 years old, and my grandmother never remarried. She had 4 kids, and my dad was the youngest there, and he grew up without a father figure. So and they were very broke. He through his hard work and everything. Well, in high school, he was a state pole vault champion, and he was also won the 100-yard dash in the lower grade levels, and so on. But so he was a 2-time state champion. So this is what I'm competing against. And Dad didn't have a father figure, so I was the oldest child. So he had to
Ooh.
learn through me, or and he had such high expectations because my brother, as a third grader, entered a wrestling tournament in one state right off the bat. He was a natural at it, so the expectations were high in my family,
And
and
see, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. Because instead of us being able to be ourselves, we cannot do that until later on in life, until we figure out who the hell am I? I don't even know who the hell I am. Who am I competing against? Most of the times you're competing against yourself because I had the same problem. I'm always competing against myself. Should I do this? Should I do this?
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
there come perfectionism and all the other things, okay? Inner critic and
Yep,
self-sabotage. And it's like, and the list is endless.
yes. Well, there was another bad thing about my childhood that um, my parents, like I said, my dad grew up without a father figure in a real small town in South Dakota, and they didn't have much money or anything like that. Well, once he started making it in the real estate business, and so on, and my mom was an unusually pretty lady, and everyone talked about how good looking she was, and they were forced to get married at 18 because of a little carelessness on their part. Let's say it became me.
Maybe. It is what
But
it is.
yes, but the thing was, neither of them had any, real experience with how to raise a child or anything like that. But they were very concerned with how they looked to other people.
Okay, okay,
And how did the kids' actions reflect on them and the family? So that was other people's opinions. You can't do any worse than that, really.
on
It's
top
just
on top of everything else that you already had to deal with. My father was the same way. My father was a narcissist. He was a minister and a narcissist, and he was an upstanding member of the community. No
yeah,
one knew all of this abuse that was going on at home. Okay.
yeah,
My mother would even sometimes have to go to church services with a black eye. Okay? But nobody ever said anything. Everybody turned and looked the other way and ignored it because my father was such a powerful person. Okay? And everybody was scared of him too. So, but still, it's complicit. And then me and my stepmother have to suffer in silence. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First, he don't want nobody to know he's beating his wife and daughter. Okay?
Well, the expectations were so high in my family. When I was in fifth grade, my brother had already won a state championship in wrestling, even though he was a third grader. So my dad wanted. We were a small family, and by small I mean size wise. Dad thought, "Oh, you can wrestle. We can wrestle." And so he said, "Bob, you enter wrestling in fifth grade." So he entered me in the tournament, and I got second place.
That's good.
It wasn't good enough.
Oh, yeah, for him. He said you should have got first place, right?
I was actually what he didn't know is I was wrestling at school,
Oh,
and there I got second place in the school. I wouldn't tell him. I didn't. He doesn't know that. Even
okay.
to this day, he doesn't know that
You
because
want
I
to
was
share?
afraid to tell him that I lost.
Oh, okay. I can see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. His expectations was really, really high. Like my father, for
yes.
example, I had my father up on a pedestal, and Lord knows he didn't deserve to be there. Okay.
Mm.
And I tried my best to live up to his expectations, but I always fell short. It was never good enough for him. Not the
Yeah.
fact that you tried, you didn't succeed in his eyes. If you didn't get 100%, like when I get my report card, he expected to see all A's on the report card.
Yeah.
He didn't want to see nothing less. Okay.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
was impossible. That was impossible because I hated science. Okay. I I loved music. Okay, that was my favorite subject. But science, no. And I liked math. So well, I better get my butt ready because I know I'm getting a whooping because I ain't I can't pass science. Sorry.
Okay. Well, getting off our personal stories a little bit here and getting to the imposter syndrome. What? No, no, I know.
So
But well,
because
so here's the thing with imposter syndrome. What you do is you either become if you weren't before, you become a perfectionist or a workaholic, or you don't look at things realistically.
I think it's a combination, okay? Because a lot of
I think
times
it's all three. It's all three.
Because a lot of times what we have to do is we have to convince ourselves of things that are not true in order to survive these systems, in order to
Hmm.
survive the things that we're going through. Okay?
Hmm.
So we tell ourselves lies to get through these things. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh yeah. Well, like my very first trial as an attorney, I went up against one of the biggest names, a much older attorney, uh, but it was a small case that he was handling for a friend, and I went up against him, and my law firm shoved me into it without just said go. You're in. You go to trial. You're a trial attorney, so here's your first trial. But they didn't have anyone helping me or sitting with me. I went in there completely blind, and I prepared for that so much you can't believe it. And I couldn't charge my bill because it was too big. It would have been too big for that type of case. But I over prepared, over prepared, and the senior attorney that I was going up against, he didn't prepare at all. But I'll tell you what, when we got in front of the jury, I was able to argue my logical legal arguments, and I ended up winning the trial on that. But there was a huge difference because I was able to get him on because I was so prepared. I brought up laws that he wasn't aware of and stuff like that, and I won because of my preparation. But he was so much better in front of the jury, so much better. He was able to talk to the jury and present well. and so on. It didn't work for him in this particular aspect, but I won the trial. But I got done, and I just said, "Man, there was such a big difference between him and me.
You
It,
know,
he was so much better than me. He was so much better than me. That's what I thought, even though I won the trial."
that reminds me of the story of David and Goliath. Okay, and the and the tortoise and the hare. Okay,
Yeah,
think about it. Okay, you came prepared. That's the difference. He came there,
yeah.
he was probably arrogant, all full of himself, like, oh, I got this in the bag. I don't have to study. I don't have to do this. And you came there prepared and cut him down. Good for you. Good
Well,
for you.
that also taught me that I need what it put in my mind as an attorney was that I need to be more prepared than the other person. Period. And that worked to my benefit. I did not lose a single trial in the 80s from 1982 to 1990. I didn't lose a single trial. The first one I lost was in 1993, and that was a long shot to win anyway. But I was up against the top trial attorney in the state, and
Didn't
and
make a
and we
difference.
had no. Well, yeah, my client had rear-ended them on the interstate, so that's my client didn't have a very much of a leg to stand. We just argued it was so foggy and they were driving too slow.
Okay. There it is. Okay. Well, I had a similar example because that was one of the success of my 39-year Army career is that I came prepared. Even at the interview and anything that you give me, I'm going to be prepared. Okay. I'm going to dot my I's. I'm going to cross
Mhm.
my T's because I know with the government, we have to make sure that we cover everything. Okay.
Mhm.
And so I had to do the same thing. And people always underestimate me. And I love that. Like that guy underestimated you, and I come out
Yeah.
winning. Okay,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
that was the secret to my success as well. So good for you.
hmm the thing about imposter syndrome is the thing people that have never suffered through it don't know what it really is. It's not the same as self-doubt. Everyone has self-doubt at times. That's normal.
Okay,
Imposter syndrome is you sweating and anxious about everything and worried and just going, I don't think I can do it. And you over prepare and you feel like you're ready, but you're just afraid. It's like what I said about writing. I was afraid every time I wrote, I'm afraid if I don't get this just right, people will think I'm stupid and I'll have a reputation of being stupid, so they won't read me.
but
And
the thing we have to remember with the writing that is subjective. It depends
yes,
on each person see it in a different way based on their environment. So that's another thing you should just think about as well. Some of my worst articles I thought was really bad, horrible. I put it out and people liked it. So just because you
hmm
think it might not be good, other people might think it's fabulous. Okay.
yes,
So we have to take that in consideration too.
oh, very much so. That's part of the reality of uh, getting rid of imposter syndrome. You got to see things as they really are, not as they are in your mind. You got to see things as they really are. Keep things in perspective.
No, I
You got to
understand that,
keep things in perspective.
but most of the people that I know, highly successful people, suffer from imposter syndrome. It's not something that you get over. Okay, it's a
Yes,
process. It's a process. Okay,
yes,
step by step process. Because especially if you're first starting something, like for example, this publication. When you first start something, of course you're going to be afraid. You're going into uncharted territories. You don't know what to expect. Okay, but as you work that publication for a while, then your confidence will build up. You will learn how to do different things. So you just have to give yourself time and space, and that can differ from person to person.
yes. Yeah, very much so. And, it, again, most people with imposter syndrome are in fact high achievers.
Yes.
And you got to recognize that first. Look at what I have achieved. And right, I think you were listening in on when I talked to someone else on the live, that at the end of the day, write down what you achieved and say, I deserve that. I deserve
That's
that.
good. Yes. That helps. That helps.
And
That helps to keep you motivated as well, and say, "Hey, I did this yesterday, and now I can build upon that, or I can put this out into the world." So, yeah, everything that you do, yeah, reflect upon that. That helps.
plus it's better.
Yeah. Okay.
But
So,
the other thing is, when you have imposter syndrome, once you start trying to learn with it, imposter syndrome does one thing. It says that it also says you are growing. You are growing.
yes.
It shouldn't take you down. It should say, I'm growing. Look, just what you said. Take time and write down your achievements and grow on them. And you grow and grow and grow. And that'll reduce imposter syndrome, the effect of imposter syndrome on you.
I went to your I went to your site. Not only do you have one publication, you have two, and you have so many articles there. So you've already done the work.
Some of it, yes.
Okay, you should give yourself an attaboy. Pat yourself on the back. That's what I want to see. Okay, I want to see you smile. You've accomplished a lot. Okay, give yourself some credit. Oh,
Well, thank you, thank you. I hope it's helping some people. I hope so.
you're
So,
here, aren't you? You're here right now.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at you with Veronica, okay, and Sue Reed. You in good company. Now, if and me, so if you can't get it from that, I don't know what to say. Okay, you got some good mentors, okay, some good coaches, so you can't fail. You cannot fail. Only reason you fail is that you don't do the work. That's
Yes.
where we fail, when we stop doing the work.
Well, there's another aspect to it that most people don't think about. When you have imposter syndrome, you often isolate yourself
We
because
do.
because you, and that's one of the worst things you can do. Talk to people. Talk to people. Get their views, and listen to their views of yourself, but don't let it don't let that form your identity.
Right.
But if they're honest, if you've got good people to talk to and everything, they'll be honest with you, and there's a reason that those good people are with you.
Right, and don't you forget it.
Exactly.
So when you
Exactly.
feeling blue, when you feeling down, like, hey Sue, what can I do here? I'll call Sue in a minute,
Mhm.
okay? And or Veronica or me, you know what I'm saying? You got all these wonderful people around you. So when you feeling the blue, we're community. We help each other out. Okay?
Mhm.
That's why we have formed these communities, okay? So we can
Yes.
support each other in the good and the bad times. Okay?
Yes. Yes. And the thing is, we said recognize your achievements, write them down at the end of the day, but keep those so you can go through them later, and you keep kind of a journal of your achievements. And you can see that, look, I achieved, I achieved, I achieved, I achieved.
And
It, it,
then
it
and then periodically update your resume accordingly. Cause you never know when
yeah.
somebody gonna say, hey Bob, I'm looking for such and such and such. Like, okay, just slap on their cover letter. Here's my resume. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Take it
Yeah.
a step further.
And if you journal, the journaling is always a good idea. Um, and write down the compliments you get from people in the course of a day. Write them down, that such and such said this to me, and it made me feel good. It made me feel good because it's real stuff. It's real stuff,
Yeah, right.
and
Because when I was working, the only thing I would hear, you screwed this up. You screwed that up. You did this wrong. Nobody tell you, oh, you did good. So you don't even know. Nobody tell
Hmm.
you don't know. So that's why I love telling people, hey, you did a great job. Okay. We appreciate you. We see you. That makes people feel good.
Yeah,
Okay. I want to be around people that makes me feel good. If you make me feel like shit, then I don't want to be around you, period. Okay. So we
exactly.
as leaders, we need to uplift and motivate the people within our community. That's
Yep,
our job. Otherwise, why are we here? We are
exactly.
supposed to lead by example. Okay?
Yes,
You
yes.
can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk.
Mhm.
Okay?
Well, the thing is, people with imposter syndrome, one thing they tend to do is they remember their mistakes vividly,
You know
and
what?
they and the mistakes stick with you, and so on. If you journal your compliments and your wins and accomplishments, that tells you, that puts it back in the forefront of your mind, which it should, where it should be. You should, learn from your mistakes, but then let them go. Don't remember
Yes.
them vividly. Don't remember them vividly.
I'm going to tell you, being a highly sensitive person, every time I made a mistake, my father would never let me live it down. He'll tell me,
Yeah,
I say, well, I need $20. He'll say, well, you made a mistake 2 months ago. Hell, I forgot about that, but he didn't. Okay? When people keep bringing up your mistakes, how can you forget? Okay?
yeah,
They're not going to let you forget. So you're right. You write it down. You can also, what I do is instead of, I ask myself, what lesson can I learn from this situation to try to make something
exactly,
positive out of it, because I don't want to keep replaying the same thing over and over again. What can I do to change this situation going forward?
exactly.
To give
Yeah,
myself some grace, because everybody in the world alive make a mistake. Okay, only one
yeah,
person don't make a mistake, you dead. So we're gonna make mistakes. Okay, that's part of life. It's called trial and error. Okay, because
yeah,
if you don't make a mistake, you can't learn. Okay,
yeah,
that's it. And I stopped
yeah.
beating myself up. Okay, about this stuff, and stop carrying it around with me because it was killing me. It was. And then when I got to work, the same thing. Okay, let it go. I made a mistake. Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Move on. That's why when I make a mistake, I don't have a problem with saying I'm sorry. Okay? I don't, because I'm human. That's
For
it.
those of you that are listening that are comparing, thinking it's just kind of exaggerated self doubt, let me tell you how bad imposter syndrome is, and from my own experience. I said I had it bad. I was so bad that in the 80s and 90s, when I hadn't lost a single trial, and 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 I people thought I had a perfect life. In reality, I was very depressed because I thought I was a fraud. And if you want to know how bad it was, every day when I drove to work, and back then I drove a silver Mazda RX-7, and then a couple of other silver sports cars. But I did lead a fast life, so to speak. But I always pictured myself driving to work that, God, I'm such a fraud. Today, people are going to find out what a fraud I am. That was my thought, my mindset every day going to work. And it was so bad, I would literally, I'm not making this up. Every day going to work, I would picture myself as in a jet fighter crashing into the ground at full speed, because today I'm going to crash. And that's not a good mindset to go to work with. Apparently, I was so arrogant that I thought that everyone in Rapid City, when they woke up in the morning, their first thought would be, I wonder how Bob Lewis is going to screw up today. I came to find out that everyone didn't wake up and wondering how I was going to screw up today. In fact, there wouldn't be a single person in the city that was wondering how I was going to screw up today.
So
But that's
how you get through that? Tell us how you got through that to be the man that you are today.
okay. Well, I'll tell you, one of the best things was I had to get over my fears. And you know how I did that? I developed a strong spiritual relationship with the Lord, and that works wonders. It works
Okay.
wonders. It helped me put things in perspective. That was the other thing, putting things in perspective. Not catastrophizing everything. That's what imposter syndrome people tend to do. Is a little problem becomes a potential big problem in their minds, and it's not real looking at things realistically. So I started putting things in perspective. I started documenting my wins, because the problem is I was remembering all the times we settled cases. Like I said, I won all my trials, but we settled cases when I thought, I don't think I did a good job on that, and those would stick with me. And I can't remember my trial wins, all the trial wins I had. I barely remember those.
Mm.
Um, but I remember all the things that went wrong. The couple trials I lost, I remember vividly.
Mhm.
And uh, it's just the relationship with the Lord and so on, and putting things in perspective, documenting my wins. What else did I do? I didn't isolate so much, and I had people telling me, Bob, you're doing so good. We're proud of you, and so on. Document those, remember those, and take them to heart. The people that say that usually mean it. So take it to heart, and and don't, when you do have doubts and fears, and you're struggling behind the scene, don't compare yourself to other people's polished results. Like you see on the Substack, people say, you know, if you're in your first 6 months on Substack, don't compare yourself to people that have been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years that are really have it down. Yeah, that's just not right. It's just not right. And you know, I want to say, like, highlight reels. Try and if you do have some of your positive accomplishments in pictures or on film or on video or something like that, every once in a while take a look at those to remind yourself, yeah, look at how things were. They can be, and they should be. Um, you want to have hope. Hope is a big thing in there. Is hope that when things are going bad for you, in any aspect of your life, it doesn't have to be imposter syndrome or anything like that. When things are going bad for you, you have you have to develop hope and talk to people. Talk to people that'll give you hope. Because if you have a belief that there are better things if I do this, if I work on this, like I'm an alcoholic, I'm in recovery, um, and I have been for a long time. And the thing is, people come to me all the time for help in their addictions, and they say, "What do you?" The Serenity Prayer, exactly, exactly. Yeah, nothing better than the Serenity Prayer. Just the first three lines are all you need. The first three lines. God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. God, give me the courage to change the things I can. And God, give me the wisdom to know the difference. What a powerful little prayer. And you can say it to yourself when things are going badly for you. Say it to yourself, and it'll calm you down. It'll calm you down right there. It'll say, God is with you, and give you some confidence in
If
yourself.
if it's not God, it could be Allah, whoever,
Yeah.
the universe. Say that, mother.
Yeah, higher power, God as you understand him, or him or
Exactly.
her, him or her.
Because
So,
you'll notice when something happened, like atheists or whatever, they'll say, "Oh my God!" That's the first thing they'll say. Something happened. Okay,
mhm,
so yeah, that's very, very important. It is.
yeah, Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see if somebody has any questions.
Okay.
I want to. I want to. Let's see. Mike Hill said, "Redefine your prime." Okay. Um, let's see. Let's see if anybody else have any comments or questions. Um, Sammy D said, but did he do any research on the internet? I'm not sure what.
For what?
I'm not. Did he do any research on the internet? I'm not sure what Sammy's referring to. Maybe I should have started asking questions earlier.
Mhm.
Kyra said yes.
I do research on the internet all the time. It's on
Yeah,
everything.
investigation. Yeah, you have to do. Yeah, yeah. That's like forensic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Kyra said,
Let me just finish. Let me just finish that if I can. If you rely on AI for legal matters, for instance, uh, no, you can use it. It's kind of like using Wikipedia. If you know what Wikipedia is,
yeah, don't use that even for research. No,
it can give you somewhere. It can lead you somewhere, but you don't want to rely on it at all. It can lead you to other sources. Yeah, that's the main thing it does. That's what AI does for me, is it leads me to possible other sources that I hadn't considered. That's what I use it mostly for, and so on. So, anyway, you were just reading a question from someone or a
yes.
statement.
Yes. Kyra said yes. I think most people have or develop. I'm sorry. I probably should have started this earlier. Imposter syndrome at some point in our lives. Yes, Kyra. Um, Carl said, never compare kids. I know, right? What happens
Yeah,
is a lot of time, first time parents, they make mistakes because they've never had kids before. So, the firstborn usually get the brunt of the everything, and the second and third and fourth usually have maybe better, parenting as a result of that. Right?
yeah. My little sister had a great time after the two brothers first.
Okay. See?
She got away with murder. She got away with murder.
I'm sure she did because your parents were probably like, "Well, we're tired, child. Go ahead. You say you want to go outside? Go ahead."
Yeah.
Okay. Carl said, "My father was a master at that. 30 years later, he would hit me with the smallest mistake." I know, right? And they never let you live it down. They just talk about it all day for a whole week. I'm like, okay, dang. Can you shut up about it?
Well, it's that way in all your relationships. Be it your significant other, your wife, husband, or anything like that. You don't want to keep remembering what they did in the past and bring it up to them, and you don't want it done to you either.
But they
You
do.
know,
They
yeah,
don't want you. They'll do it to you, but they don't want to hear nothing. Oh, I don't want to hear it. Okay, okay. Well, you should practice what you preach then. I don't want to hear it
yeah,
either.
yeah,
Okay. Hey, Kat. Kat said we only have control over one thing, ourselves, and she's right. Okay.
yeah,
She said it's a journey to be honest with yourself, and that's all you've got at the end of the day. Amen to that, sister. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I know that's right. Does anybody have any questions for Bob or I, or any further comments? Did you what else? What else you got, Bob? I don't know if we talked about the common triggers. Okay, the common triggers with the imposter syndrome, like being the only or the first. Okay, and obviously that puts a lot of pressure on you. Like you said, you had to go in there and
Mm,
perform. And but what you did was you went out there and did it. You didn't think about it, you just went out and did it. See, that's one of the things we do when we start thinking. When we think, that's a lot of times when we fail. Don't think, just go out there and do it. Like Nike said, just do it.
yeah. Well, let me.
Go ahead.
Well, I told you about my brother and sister and my dad being so successful in sporting events and everything. The best I ever did was fifth in the state tournament in golf. But I was a city golf champion. I beat pros and everything. I used to be good enough. Well, this is what I did the first time I became sober. The operative word being first, you can relapse in there, so you got to work at it. You got to work at it. But I decided to see how good I could become for myself when I got out of the treatment center. And I took golf lessons, and I became what's called a scratch golfer. I became as good as any pro around there. Not a tour. I couldn't. I've beaten touring pros before in tournaments, but um, I mean, I became the city golf tournament, and I became a good enough person, even though I was drowning in imposter syndrome, and I was very depressed over a bad breakup. The roommate of the girl that broke up with me because of my drinking, and dishonesty about my drinking. That there was a big lesson to be learned there. Um, um, Asked me out, and she was 12 years younger than me, and real good looking. And I said, "Why are you asking me out?" And she said, "Because I loved the way you treated this other girl." She said, "I want to be treated like that." I said, "I can do that." So we started dating. She ended up becoming, while we dated for 3.5 years, and while we were dating, she became Miss South Dakota. And so we went to the Miss America pageant together, and there I met the Donald.
Oh, I was getting ready to say that. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh goodness.
The Donald, actually, we were walking close to him, and he kind of grabbed me and just said, are you the boyfriend of this beautiful young lady?" And I said, um, "Yes," but I wasn't sure she wanted him to know that. But
You
I said
probably
yes, and he took me aside and talked to me for 5 minutes, and I was in such shock. I don't remember a single word he said to me.
wow. Yeah, he was running the pageants back in the day, so
He,
he could take his pick at whoever he wanted.
yeah, well, that was the first. That was the first. That well, that's the thing. That was the first year he bought the pageant. The first year he had the pageant, and if you remember, there was a big controversy because Miss Hawaii won that year, and she was a unique person, to put it mildly. And there was a big controversy about him, and so, but that's neither here nor there. I haven't written about that yet. I haven't written about that yet.
He probably said, "Okay." He's like, you're a winner. Come on, I got something for you." Okay, okay. Let me get back on topic. Anyway,
Okay.
let's see what if there was any further comments. Bob, stay on the juice. Then you win. You own your case outside of court.
I didn't quite follow that. Stay on the juice.
And well, you know, the younger generation have a way of talking that I
Oh,
don't really
yeah.
understand sometimes.
Yes, I'm definitely not part of the younger generation anymore.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I'm Generation Jones. Okay, all right, so it's all
Mhm.
good. It's all good. But we talked about some of these other things about the common triggers, and one of the things I talked about is making a mistake. If I make a mistake, I'm just going to be flat out and tell you I made a mistake. Okay, and own it. And that's a part of
Yep.
being a good leader. Because if you
Yep.
don't have any credibility, if people can't trust you, I'm not gonna follow somebody that I don't trust. Okay,
Hmm.
so
Well,
yeah,
yeah, another problem with imposter syndrome is, um, for lack of a better term, I'm going to use it now, procrastination, because you don't feel you're ready to pull the trigger on something. You want to make sure you know everything about
we
it.
can't
You
we can't
over
know that.
prepare. You over prepare. And the thing is, you'll never feel, when you have imposter syndrome, you'll never feel ready to jump into your first leadership role, for instance, to write your first book, to do your daily note on the Substack. Um, you're never ready to face your big audience when you're in public speaking, or if you have to speak to someone. Um, you know, you're never completely ready in your mind when you have imposter syndrome, but you got to know when you're ready to pull the trigger. You got to be prepared to pull the trigger, even though you know that you aren't perfect.
You know,
You got to
and
recognize you're not perfect.
and that's the thing about going live. You keep thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, and don't do it. Okay, just do it. Okay, the first one's
Mhm.
gonna suck, maybe. Okay, so what?
Mhm.
People are gonna be there and follow you and gonna listen to you and cheer you on. Nobody's gonna be there criticizing and judging. And if they are, they're haters and trolls, and they just need to go somewhere else. But you got to keep
Yeah,
putting yourself out there. Okay, you got to take a leap
yeah,
uh, off that cliff. Take a leap of faith off that cliff and see where you land. Okay, you just got to do that. You got to you got to stop being scared. Okay. You got to stop
hmm
and just take a leap of faith and say, I got this, okay? That's it.
yeah,
You got it.
yeah. You're never confident enough to believe that I got this whipped. It'll just be easy. Confidence is not a prerequisite for you to take action. What it is, confidence is the result of the actions
Okay.
you take. And, it's those actions you take, then they become evidence of what you can do.
Right?
Look, I'm achieving. And then you have confidence.
And you have
It,
proof.
it just
You
goes
have
there.
proof.
Yep,
I
there's
did
proof
this
for you.
last week. There it
Yep,
is. Okay. Build
yep.
on that. Build on that.
Exactly. So
Absolutely.
also remember, don't isolate. I want to get back to that. Imposter syndrome thrives on silence. With you hiding there and letting your mind run wild with you, that's not good. Talk to people; they can bring you back to earth, and so on. In alcohol recovery, we have sponsors. That you can talk to when you're feeling like you're in trouble or something like that. Have See if you can find at least one person that you can talk intimately with about your feelings. That'll work so good. And hopefully more than one. But once you get a good person you can trust and everything, and lay everything out in front of, and they'll be truthful back to you, that's a wonderful thing. A wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so important to have that support system. Okay.
hmm
For sure.
Yeah.
This has been a really amazing conversation today, Bob. I want to thank you for that. Okay. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we
Thank
would,
you. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, there's going to be some conversations we need to have legally. Okay. You have that legal expertise, and we want to utilize that to our advantage. Everybody has a resource. Okay. We need to have these available resources that we can tap into when they're needed.
Oh, let me just add this real quick. It just popped in my mind. I've got a checklist. Where is it here? A checklist. Here it is. Um, an imposter syndrome checklist that I did. It's 3.5 pages long. I could provide it to people. I'm not sure how to do it. Um, um, I'll see if I can put it on my website for some
Okay.
people to download. And again, yeah,
Sorry.
I was just going to say my website. I don't have the link here right in front of me where I can put it down, but it's um, better decisions, better lives under Bob Lewis on Substack.
I'll make sure to
And
put the link when I publish the article. I'll put a link, okay, to your sites,
okay,
to
will
both
do.
if you want. Okay, I got
Okay,
you.
yeah, to both. That'd be great. So I'll make that available for free to anyone.
Awesome, Bob. I am really truly honored to have met you. I met you as Veronica Lorca Smith, and also with Sue Reed. We all, that's the thing. Community is so important. We all
Yes.
intertwine with each other, and we support each other. And I want to thank you for that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, community is so important. And it's especially with imposter syndrome and depression and everything. Community, community, community. And you'll find the more you develop a community on Substack, the more you'll get out of Substack and you'll like it more.
Exactly. I love it.
So,
Substack saved my life. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Yes, for real. Sincerely. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming today. Stella, thank you. And Stella said, Bob, it was insightful. Okay. The conversation.
Mhm.
And thank you all for
Thank you.
coming today and supporting Bob and I. And we hope you got a lot out of the conversation. And thank you all so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Have a great week. Be the
Yes.
reason someone smiles today.
Absolutely. All right. All right. Bye. Bye.
Bye.